Big DEI win at a surprising place, the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So I'm going to let you tell the quick details of the case and the implications going forward on this. Great to have you, by the way.
Thanks, Vicki. This is a case really close to my heart. I think this was the first race-based discrimination case that we filed at Will back in April of 2021. It was against a scholarship that is for students in Wisconsin technical colleges that is based on need. But if you are a certain racial group, you're excluded from even applying for this scholarship. About 90% of Asians are ineligible for this scholarship. Middle Eastern students were ineligible for the scholarship, and whites, and then actually some Hispanics were ineligible for this scholarship. It's primarily a scholarship for Black students and Native American students, and we brought this lawsuit on behalf of Kiki Rabibna and Richard Freihofer, two taxpayers in Wisconsin. They also have a son who's biracial and going to be going to a Wisconsin Technical College in the fall. And he was ineligible simply because of his race. Having a mother who is from Thailand and a father who is white made this new technical college student, ineligible to get any help from the Evers administration to go to technical college. And so we brought this lawsuit. We lost at the circuit court. We won at the Court of Appeals. And then unanimously yesterday, the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that, yes, in fact, this is an unconstitutional scholarship. You cannot discriminate against students based on race.
No kidding.
Something we thought we knew back in 1954 with Brown versus Board of Education, something we should have known for the last 250 years. But the Supreme Court agreed with us, and it's really exciting because one of the things that they confirmed was that these race-based programs can be dismantled through a lawsuit brought not only by people who are injured by the program, which is sometimes hard to find those people, but now taxpayers. Any taxpayer in the state can file a lawsuit claiming that, hey, this program you have is unconstitutional, it's discriminating based on race, you ought to knock it off. And our taxpayers brought this lawsuit, and the Supreme Court unanimously confirmed that they do, in fact, have the ability to bring a case like this. So this is a great way to get people into court, because I know you lament the fact a lot that it's hard to bring federal lawsuits because they're really picking on the concept of standing. You have to have someone who actually has been injured by the program, which is very hard to find in a lot of cases. But now in state courts, any of your listeners who pay taxes, can go into court and stop something from going on that's unconstitutional.
So Wisconsin has had one of the oldest anti-discrimination laws on the books. Wisconsin. 1945, I believe, was when ours passed. I think it was updated and expanded in like 1956, 1958, something like that. Then again expanded in 1982. The history of Wisconsin anti-discrimination law says you can't discriminate based on race. Okay, it's the law. It's been the law forever, Dan. It's the federal law. Why did you even have to bring this suit? How did this even come to pass? How did a circuit court think this was constitutional or legal? You know, I'm so glad taxpayers can bring cases now. Yay. But why? I mean, this is the thing that that we're running, the wall we're running into. They don't seem to care what the law is. They wait until someone like you and a talented team of attorneys find someone to bring a case against them. And until then, they're off to the races.
Yeah, and they'll keep doing it. There are a lot more other programs that still use race.
Right. Stop for 1 second. This should be the end of all those programs, right? This case should make everyone go, oh, we better get rid of those programs. But it's not gonna, is it?
No, and Supreme Court ruled in 1954 that racial segregation was illegal, and still schools were segregating for decades to come. So there had to be literally decades of monitoring, because the left, you're right, they don't care. They want they want this to keep on going. And the concurring opinions yesterday in the case, Chief Justice Karofsky and the other liberal justices just lamented the fact that they have to abide by the non-discrimination provisions of the U.S. Constitution. It kind of makes them upset that they can't keep on discriminating. But one of the real tragedies here, you're like, why did this case go on? Well, Tony Evers and Josh Call refused to back down in defending this scholarship. At an early point in the litigation, we made very clear to them in court filings and at the arguments that we would accept a resolution where the scholarship would keep on going if they just removed the racist parts of the requirements. Just take race off the application, and we can open this up to anybody who has a financial need. They said no. The Evers administration, the Call Attorney General's office, rejected that. That would have saved this scholarship, which actually benefits 800 students every year. It's about $1 million a year. It's about 800 students every year. Now, the Supreme Court has just struck down and eliminated the entire scholarship, so the scholarship is actually gone. When we come into a case like this, we propose very early off, hey, let's just keep this benefit, whatever it is, a health grant or a scholarship or a business loan program. Let's keep this benefit going. Just remove the racist crap in there. And the other side defended this to the very end. And so the fact that the scholarship is gone now rests at the feet of Evers and Call, who refused just to compromise with us and to resolve this, because yes, there are more things going on right now. You said
give it. You can keep the scholarship, but give it to the white kids too. Give it to the Asian kids too. And Evers and Josh Call, who wants another term, by the way, as Attorney General, said no. We are not going to be giving money for scholarships to technical colleges to white kids and Asian kids. I mean, it's disgusting. This is disgusting. They are unrelenting racists. That the Supreme Court Justices Karofsky and her ilk lamented that there was anti-discrimination law that they had to follow, Dan. That's a tell. This is bizarre. They are completely committed to a virulent racism. And you mentioned monitoring. You're right. We had to monitor. We had official bodies that were monitoring compliance with anti-discrimination law after Brown versus Board of Education. That's what we need again. We need official bodies monitoring so that government doesn't continue to be vilely racist in pursuit of whatever political agenda one half the voting population has.
Yeah, and we've got on the docket, we're getting ready to file more lawsuits. There is we've talked with you about the supplier diversity program, which Evers runs. It's about close to $300 million every single year, which gives out money to minority-owned businesses. And then we've got University of Wisconsin still has about 22 race-based scholarships, many of which are nearly identical to the one that was just struck down yesterday. 22 scholarships worth millions of dollars that go to UW-Madison students. When I write them a letter pretty soon, it says, we're going to sue you unless you take them down. They're going to say, well, that case, yesterday that was decided, that only applied to one scholarship. It doesn't apply to the identical carbon copies that are 22 others that are affecting hundreds and perhaps thousands of other UW students are getting excluded from these other scholarships because they're white or Asian or Hispanic or North African or Middle Eastern. We're going to go through one at a time and take them down. This is, at the end of the day, it's to the voters. Does the voters want to put up with having people in power who continually flaunt the Constitution, who want to exclude young kids and students from getting scholarship just because their mom is from Thailand? Is that really, the type of state government you want?
Well,
because that's what you have right now.
Just because their mom's from Thailand or their dad's white. Because really what this is about is advantaging one group of people, and that's black people. That's what really, we should just say this, put it on the table. It is about trying to provide advantages to black people, which is why they write it in such a way that high-performing Asian kids can't get scholarships either. It is because they have picked one racial group to advantage at the expense of all others. That's why they're doing this. If this were, if these were disadvantaged Asians, we wouldn't have a scholarship. We wouldn't have a scholarship written for disadvantaged Asians. It wouldn't happen. It is the politics, it's Barack Obama's racialist politics, and it's exclusively targeted toward black people in America. So that's why you see all of these other discrimination claims. Hispanic people can't get it, black people or Asian people can't get it, Middle Eastern people can't get it, because it's designed that way. It's so overtly and disgustingly racist that it makes you just want to cringe. But I was talking to Corey Brewer yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, about another case that Will had, unrelated case, and I said this: the lawyers know better. So we were talking about cease and desist to citizens who criticize government, who were making claims that somehow government had rights. The lawyers know better, Dan. The lawyers for the university system know better. Tony Evers' lawyers know better. The Department of Justice lawyers know better. They know this stuff's illegal. Isn't there a professional standard that says lawyers actually have to abide by the law, actually have to give advice that comports with the law?
Yes, there are standards for lawyers, but at the end of the day, this resistance comes because it's a political resistance. It's a resistance to the law to pursue a political means.
The lawyers resist the law. Yeah.
It is the ultimately the voters who put people and their representatives in office, and the voters want to abide by a lawless regime. Then all we have left, we only have three branches of government. We only have a lawmaking branch, an executive branch, and a judicial branch, and we have to be able to go to the judicial branch to get these lawless people to start to behave. It would be much easier just to elect people who agree to abide by the law. But
here's part of the problem about the voters. Most of the voters don't even know about this case. Most of the voters don't listen to the Vicki McKenna Show. Most of the voters are not, reading the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty press releases, because the press will not share this information with them. So if the voters don't know, then relying on the voters, and the voters are deliberately foreclosed from knowing because the press they rely on doesn't give them the information, then this isn't going to change. Then the voters are just going to not know. And what they don't know, that is an advantage to the people who are corrupt. And that's the problem with the voters' solution to this, is if we had a press that told this story, this should be front page news, right? You guys have been fighting it for 5 years, but there's not been I don't know if there's been a single story, even on the case you filed back in 2021.
Yeah, it is disappointing, but, we're coming up on our 250th birthday here, and our country was created by people who decided to stand up and to educate themselves and become citizens who have responsibilities. And, it's hard being a citizen. You have to educate yourself. You have to understand the limits in government and your individual rights, and you have to teach your kids about them, and you have to make sure that your local school district is educating your kids about your rights and your responsibilities. And it's hard. Yeah, you can be lulled into a sense of false sense of security and not see the news and then just complain. But, this is our country. This is the citizens' country. The government is restrained from doing many things because we don't trust them. And when they start to cross lines, we have to punish those people at the ballot box, and then a last resort is to take them to court. But there is a lot of responsibility here on our citizens. We always talk about citizens. We have all these illegal aliens in the country, and they're coming in our country. But we are the people who have the power and authority to run this country, and we ought to run it, and we ought to take that very seriously. And not necessarily blame the fact that we're not hearing stories on the mainstream news, but this is a inflection point for our country. These few years we have 2026, 2028. What are we going to do? Are we just going to sit back and avoid our responsibilities as citizens, or are we going to educate our future citizens and our kids and make sure our schools are straight and to basically live out the American dream the way we want to?
Yeah, I'm sympathetic to that. I think it's easy being a citizen. I think it's just easier being lazy, ignorant, and blaming others for things that go sideways. I just think it happens to be easier. And we are a nation of easy living people. That's what we have become. I will say one last thing about, again, the educate your kids. You have to educate your kids against a $1 trillion behemoth called the K-12 education system that means to teach them the exact opposite of the truth. And that's a problem, too. That's another problem. That, again, all of these things could be solved if people just showed up. If folks just showed up, this would be not a problem. But, maybe that's what makes it hard, is showing up. I don't know. Dan?
Yeah, it's our country if we can keep it.
If you want it. Yeah, it's yours. Grab it. It's up to you. I appreciate the time on the program. By the way, this was huge. It was a huge, huge win. You got a unanimous decision, even though members of the Wisconsin Supreme Court lamented having to concur and oblige anti-discrimination law. That's kind of pathetic, but it is a huge win. And again, Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, what would we do without you? Thank you, Dan Lennington.
Thank you, Vicki.